At the end of June 1942, the camp commandant of Gausen, a subcount of Mauthausen, came to Auschwitz to choose able-bodied prisoners to work in his camp. Pytlewski was chosen.
When I was leaving the Auschwitz camp, we were loaded into cattle cars of 50 people. The windows were boarded up, the doors were closed and the train started. On the first day, the conditions were still bearable, but the following days were gruesome. They gave nothing to drink or eat. All physiological needs had to be dealt with in one corner of the wagon, therefore there was a great stench. There was no gap in the floor through which the feces could be removed. We also had nothing sharp with which we could cut the hole. We were hungry and thirsty in the wagons. At the stations where the train stopped, we asked for water, but they did not let us get out of the car or even open the door in the car. Once at a station, we all started shouting, "Wasser!" The escorting SS men shot at the wagon and announced that if we were not quiet, he would shoot low to kill as many as possible. One prisoner was slightly injured, so we asked for a doctor to dress the wound. They said that there were no doctors in this transport. I remember it was the third day of the ride. It was raining and it seeped through the gaps into the inside of the cars. Everyone wanted to get a little wet in this water and at least have a little moisture in their mouth. After 3 days, the train stopped, the doors opened, and again the SS men screamed, "Raus!" After leaving the train, it turned out that some of them couldn't get out on their own, so we had to take them out of the wagons. After leaving the train, we marched to the Mauthausen camp to the roll call square where the names against the list were checked. After checking the list, the sick were left in Mauthausen and the rest went downstairs to the Gusen camp next to the quarry. We each received a new strip to uniforms, clogs and numbers. I was given the number 1205 from another deceased prisoner. Our entire block was directed to work in quarries at the open pit, which was removing the top layer of ground from rock. At the excavation site, there was a German criminal and his name was something like Gustav Kritzky, but we called him a tiger due to the fact that every day he had to kill at least one prisoner, and there were even days that he killed several. His assistant, a Polish man from Warsaw, helped him. We called him the Red Kazim because he wore red pants and his name was Kazimierz. On the slopes of the Alps mountains, we were removing layers of ground from the rocks. It was done in such a way that we arranged in rows on the slope from the top to the bottom. Each row from the very top shoveled the soil to the lower roll, and the lower roll to the bottom. At the bottom, others loaded the soil on horse-drawn carts and took it to nearby pits. Whoever worked slower or stopped for a moment to rest, Red Kazia called him and led him to the shed, which stood at the front of the mountain. This shed was where the seat of the tiger was, and they both would beat up such an individual. If the kappa was in a good mood, they only beat him and ordered him to go to work, but if he was in a bad mood, which was more common, they beat him until he lost consciousness and threw him in front of the shed. It was generally known that when Red Kazia calls someone to the shed, it is almost a certain death situation.